Welcome to episode 41 of Fizzy's Wacky World of Wrestling. Yes, it's not episode 42, it's episode 41. I made a minor miscalculation when I was doing this episode title, so I'll have that corrected in post-production. But we are here, folks, today after several weeks off because I was dealing with the WrestleMania week as well as dealing with a minor cold this past week or so, but I'm back, feeling pretty good. Apart from some minor coughing, I'll try to make sure to minimize that on air. And we are here today to talk about, you might have noticed, a Rumble. But we're not talking about that Rumble, or at least not directly at this point, because we're talking about Southern Tier Wrestling's Gold Rush II event from April 21st at the Jamestown Community College Sports Complex Center in Jamestown, New York. A independent wrestling show that I attended this past weekend, and wow, what a show. And joining me today this week on Wacky World of Wrestling is Metal Matt.
Hey, what's happening?
And Metal here is going to be journeying with me on the experience of this independent wrestling card, which had a large amount of matches on it. I believe it was between 8 and 9 matches. So, Matt, have you ever been to an independent wrestling show?
I don't know if I've ever been to a proper indie wrestling show. Like there was one show way back in the day. I want to say 2005, maybe. I could be wrong there. But it was like some like Legends wrestling show. I know that Diamond Dallas Page and Mick Foley were there. But I don't remember too much about that show, but I do know that those two were there. But other than that, I haven't really been to too many indie shows.
I've been to several independent wrestling shows over the past few years. I started with a Legends show. It was a Roddy Piper Legends show. I showed up on that show. Me and my dad sat in the stands the entire show, watched the proceedings as they fell. I went to a 4th annual JCC Community Wrestling fundraiser show that was actually held in this very building and was run by the same people as this particular show. That was a fun show. I got my first wrestling T-shirt there. I got a Big League John McChesney shirt. It's sitting in my cover board right now. Then I went to another show that was a Legends card. It was Big Time Pro Wrestling. And they're a touring company that does Legends show events, and they did a show at the Ice Arena. I got 2 more wrestling T-shirts there, and first met Asylum, a.k.a. Stone Rockwell, who we'll be talking a little bit later about in this show. Then I had sort of an absence of about a year. I had 2016 was like the worst year for me to go to an independent wrestling show because I was not able to attend a single event because I had every single domino disaster happen. Either I was sick or my family was sick, or we had to replace an entire section of our attic roof the week of a wrestling card that I was planning on attending. But during that time period, a promotion called Southern Tier Wrestling opened up, and it's a regional wrestling promotion in the Chautauqua County area, and they've been doing events since 2016. And Gold Rush is sort of their showcase WrestleMania staple show. And the very first show I attended for an STW event was the Gold Rush of 2017, which was held at the Jamestown Savings Bank, now Northwest Ice Arena. Was a really fun show to go to. Then I went to the Fairgrounds show in Frewsburg, which was the very first show of Southern Tier Wrestling covered by Wacky World of Wrestling. Then I went to the Ice Arena show for Rise of the Cobra. And then I also went to the show in February, which was Fast Times at Faulkner High. So this is event number 4 and event number 5 as far as personally attended. So kind of become something of a regular. So, as always, as I do on these independent wrestling shows, I recount my experiences as to how I got there, what was the event like, and what were the matches like. To start with, I got my tickets on Thursday, a couple days before the event, and glad I did because they actually sold out of tickets at general admission tickets at the one venue that they were selling tickets at, which is always a positive sign for an independent wrestling promotion when you're actually selling out tickets. especially in my area where the most difficult thing is actually telling people, hey, there's a local event coming out. Do you want to come? You have to give them like advance notice several weeks in advance to say, here's this event that's coming out. Please attend. Tickets are cheap. Just general admission tickets. You want to know the price of these tickets?
Sure.
$10.
Oh, that's awesome.
General admission tickets are $10. Were $10 for these STW shows because this is a regional promotion in a local rural area, and you sell your tickets to people that can actually afford to go to the events. And the kids can go in for like $5. And if you have a student admission pass, it was even cheaper. And front row tickets are only $20. So you're saving a lot by going to an independent wrestling show, as well as you're helping the industry, because these shows help independent wrestling and they help independent wrestlers because you get to go to a show, you buy a ticket, and then you can go over and, if you want to, go buy some merchandise.
Yeah, so it's a win-win all around.
Yeah, it's a win-win all around, especially for the wrestlers who are selling merchandise. It's a way for them to make a living. And, professional wrestling is a very hard living to have. I mean, people are usually working like 2 or 3 different jobs in this field, in the independent wrestling field. And it's a great help to them if they have a really good performance. Go over there, buy one of their shirts. And I'll talk about a little bit more about the intermission period. That's one of my favorite periods of wrestling. But anyway, I came down with a cold on late part of the first day, Friday. I was stuck in bed for 2 days. Showtime was Saturday. And I felt okay. And I felt okay to go to the show. So we went down to the community college, and a couple days before the event, I showed to all of my Facebook friends that there was an event going on, as well as provided a map of the event, because the community college complex is a little bit difficult to get to because nobody really is sure where the athletic complex is in relation to the college. And so we were able to get there. We parked up. We saw a entire row of deer walk in the woods. There's like 10, 15 deer that was across the street in the woods running around. And I'm like, okay, that's a sign. So we walk in the building, we admit the tickets that we had bought, and it was me and my mom that came with me on this particular show. And she is just, she's not exactly a wrestling fan, but she really enjoys the arts of professional wrestling because she used to do community theater for decades down in Erie, Pennsylvania, back in the 80s. So for her, she understands it. And she was asking me, okay, who's the face here and who's the heel? And we booed and or cheered accordingly. So we get into the venue and they have bleacher seats. Last show, I talked about the bleacher seats. I love sitting in bleacher seats because they're really comfortable. It's not like you're sitting in a chair and it's uncomfortable after about like a couple hours. You have this situation where you can sit comfortably. You can put your drinks down somewhere without having to worry about knocking them over if you're careful. And the ring is really nice because if you can see from the photos, and I have my photos posted on the Twitter feed in the pins section, the ring is really nice. Now, that is a ring that they recently purchased. They used it on the Faulkner show, and this is the second time that they've used this ring for the Jamestown show. And when you buy your own wrestling ring, it basically means you can basically just focus about running events without having to worry about renting a wrestling ring when you actually own it. So this event was at the community college, and this was the 6th annual JCC wrestling team fundraiser event for the show. And some of the proceeds for this show were going to the JCC wrestling team for food, hotel stays, bills, extra bills that the team has to go in case they have to travel anywhere to tournaments around the world. And it's a really cool thing. It's a really cool thing for a really good cause. And this show was just awesome from the word go. There was a really nice, electric, energetic atmosphere. And you had a mixture of everybody. You had diehard fans, you had women, you had children, you had everybody at the show. It was a really cool experience. I mean, we got to sit by a guy who was holding up a bunch of signs.
What do those signs say?
Boo the heels, or if a heel wins, we riot. I'd actually met the guy at the last show, and it was kind of an odd experience for him because he wasn't used to somebody so mellow at a wrestling show. Because here's the key thing here, folks. A lot of people go to wrestling shows to get all excited, all jazzed up, and whatnot. I go to pro wrestling shows to relax. I will boo and I will cheer, and it's just such an enjoyable, fun spectacle for me. And I had my camera with me, so that naturally meant I took shots of the wrestlers as they were doing their ring entrances and as they were going through the matches. And they started things off on the right foot. Our first match is the Gold Rush Rumble. It's time. It's time to rumble for a championship opportunity, ladies and gentlemen. Wrestlers will come in at intervals in this particular edition of the match. Because last year it was a Battle Royale. This year it's a traditional Royal Rumble match. Which means 2 people enter to start, and a wrestler comes in every 90 seconds. And props to the person who thought it would be a really good idea to use a foghorn to signal the entrances for the performers. It was seriously a really good idea, because not only did it attract the crowd's attention with the buzzing sound, honk, it also draws your attention to the ring curtain, and the wrestlers were coming in and out. It was instant cheers or boos depending on a person's alignment. To start things off, our first participant is the Moonlight Sun, Mike Skyros, who is an amazing babyface wrestler. He's a regional wrestler from the Brockport, New York area, and he just interacts with the crowd so nice, and his moves are really crisp and enjoyable to watch in ring. And he was on the show a bit frequently in this one because he was also involved in another segment. He was the first one in, and he was about like the last 4 person to get eliminated, but he really was one of the ring callers for the match. The other ring caller was on the heel side. Let me introduce you folks once again to one of the patron saints of the professional wrestling. We'll be talking about these people quite a lot on this show. One of the patron saints is, of course, the enforcer, the muscle, the destroyer of everything, Terrell Kenneth. I've talked about Mr. Kenneth on this show quite a lot when it comes to indie wrestling, and once again, he made yet another impression on the audience. And by yet another impression on the audience, they tried to boo him out of the building. Terrell is on the list, one of my mom's favorite wrestlers. Of the list of all the wrestlers, there are a lot of wrestlers that she really likes. Terrell is on that list.
So she likes the heels.
She likes the heels and she likes the baby faces because it's a mixture of both. So these two start off. Terrell's jawing to the crowd, and it is a enjoyable spectacle to start things off on the right foot. Getting the crowd pumped up. And it was just this wonderful experience to see a Rumble in person. And now I saw a Battle Royale in person, but this is the first time I've seen a Rumble match in person. So it was really, really cool. And as I'm going down the photo list, Kenneth tries to think of various different ways to try and turn Skyros into paste. Because he looks at his adoring public and thinks of so many ways to do so. Our next participant in was DT, a tag team wrestler who is also a regional wrestler from the Buffalo area. He also decides to do some suplexes and tries to interfere in Skyros and Kenneth's wrestling match. They are less than appreciative of it. After that, it was the first of the baby faces. Vinny Moon enters the fray. He's the leader of the Moonanites. And apparently the forces of gravity hate him because the moon has no gravity. As Vinny is about to discover in this Rumble match, it's a case where gravity once again plots to destroy him. After that, we had 2 Rochester wrestlers, Sebastian Braun and Nick Endo, come into the fray and try and shake things up. Afterwards, Dewey Murray, a.k.a. the real mother trucker, comes into the event, as well as Wes Adams. Dewey is the first person eliminated from the Battle Royale. This Rumble of Champions. The pacing was really well done in this match. It always felt as it never dragged. It never felt like it was going on for too long. Eliminations were steady and consistent. Everybody got their time in to shine. Sebastian Braun tried to showcase that he was one of the strongest monsters in the match. After Kenneth asked him to help eliminate Skyros, Kenneth was not amused and proceeded to beat the bejesus out of the guy. Vinnie Moon tried to showcase Fire as the pure babyface in the match. After that, it was the ninth wrestler was Urza Ellswood, who we'll be talking about in another segment later on in the show. His manager, Topper Sinclair, the diabolical evil Megan mastermind, proceeded to start interfering with the referees stationed around the match so that eliminations could start getting in. However, none of the wrestlers were prepared for the ginormous lime green monster wall that was Big Jack. Big Jack enters the match and proceeds to eliminate half the field. This guy really made an instant impression on everybody because this guy is a Pacific Northwest wrestler who is a recent transplant to the area. You can definitely tell that he is not used to having to work this kind of style of match before. While he's done Battle Royales before, it was in front of a Pacific Northwest audience. He was not used to getting the kind of instant cheers and reactions that a Western New York audience can give somebody. That he didn't have to aggressively work on it or literally hurt himself to get a crowd reaction.
So is Big Jack like a monster heel or something like that?
Monster face in this case.
Okay.
So he was the monster face in this case because this was his first appearance for Frontier Wrestling. And our continuing saga, Vinnie Moon versus the Forces of Gravity, does not end particularly well for Vinnie as he faces Jack and gets eliminated. Then Terrell Kenneth and Big Jack decide to have a kaiju battle in the middle of the ring while everybody else is trying to get themselves out of the way of these two ginormous monsters. The first victor of that kaiju class is Terrell Kenneth, which should set something up down the line. Afterwards, Gavin Glass, James Santel, the Landlord, Brian Jennings, the Buffalo Bad Boy, also now appear in the match. Santel is a fiery babyface from the local area. Landlord is one of the more despicable heels as he is a landlord. And everybody owes him money. I mean, if there's a way to generate heat in this audience of an area that is filled with people who rent, then Landlord is the way to do it. And Brian Jennings had a nice match. It's been a while since I've seen the guy. Last time I saw him was in 2014-15, and he had a nice fiery splint. And Gavin Glass, wow. He is a really good wrestler, really high energy, high power offense. He was basically the replacement for Vinnie Moon after he got eliminated in the match. And he also works as a graphic designer. He has some really nice graphic designs for wrestling related t-shirts. So he's got an alternative career path as well. He's also only 20 years old. I mean, both him and Vinny are 20. And same with, I think Daniel Garcia is like 19, 20 years old. So we have a lot of wrestlers in the area that are very young. So after that, we have Brian Jennings beating the tar out of everybody. James Santel nearly getting eliminated by the Landlord. And then, to make things really special, well, Big Jack isn't the only monster from the Pacific Northwest that decided to show up to this Rumble. Kate Carnage, the Queen Midas of pro wrestling, appears in this Battle Royale. And she has a mean right hook. Really impressive first time out in Sovereignty Wrestling in this Royal Rumble match. And she takes it to my Skyros, beats him up, and just starts trying to wail on everybody in the ring. And at least that armband that she was wearing kept the curse away, or this promotion is going to have to invest in a forklift to get all the turn to gold wrestlers out of the ring.
So this was an intergender Royal Rumble?
Well, it's, yeah.
Oh, nice.
I guess you could call it that because she was the only female wrestler in the Rumble. But it was like it was equal. Afterwards, the world's most hateable man enters the building, Super Beast. I've talked about Super Beast reacting to his adoring public before, but this was the show that really capitalized on him being a total furnace of hatred. He greeted his adoring public, and I mean by adoring, they booed him out of the building so loud that the arena shakes from the noise. It literally did. As he introduces his client, the Don, Rob Sweet, into the Battle Royale. And trust me when I say this, by the end of the night, Rob Sweet is going to become the most hated person in Jamestown. But I'm not going to tell you why just yet. But before then, Rob has a Rumble to win, and James Santel thought he had eliminated him. The final four was, I believe, Landlord, Kenneth, Skyros, Sweet, and Santel. So Santel thought he had won the Rumble, but Sweet had gone through the bottom rope instead of the top rope because it was an over top rope battle royale. So what happens is that Sweet sneaks back into the ring and proceeds to throw Santel out after a distraction by Super Beast. This group worked as a team because Landlord, Super Beast, and Rob Sweet are part of the same faction, which still doesn't have a name yet. And then they posed for a team photo with his partners in Evil and proceeds to call out the Southern Tier Wrestling Heavyweight Champion because this Gold Rush Rumble was a #1 contenders match for the Southern Tier Wrestling Heavyweight Championship. And the champion is big-time Bill Collier. Now, Bill Collier has had the belt since Gold Rush 2017. And he's looking to once again add another notch in his championship resume. What's the worst the G's Free could possibly do against that? Oh, we'll find out soon enough. But anyway, Gold Rush Rumble. Wonderfully paced, really great energy. Crowd was hot the entire time that this event was going on. And you could say that about the rest of the show, but here especially, when you have a lot of fresh faces and a lot of new people coming into the territory, or people that have come in here before and are now getting themselves established in the area as good wrestlers with personalities. It really helps when you have an energetic crowd behind you. So that was such a cool event. That was such a cool match in particular. To see a Royal Rumble in my hometown was just such a cool experience. I'm getting just choked up thinking about it.
Yeah, it must have been really neat, seeing like an indie promotion do something like a Royal Rumble because you see like battle royals, all the time there, but seeing like an actual Royal Rumble style match, that'd be really neat to see.
Yeah, and it was a really nice thing to see, and what was so cool. And then we reach our second match of the evening, because after a Rumble match, what is better than just a hard-hitting match between two guys who hate each other? Next up is Robbie Rage versus Vince Valor. We have Invincible versus a bodybuilder. And what's so funny about this is that Vince Valor is normally a guy who is a heel in most of the other territories. Here in Southern Tier Wrestling, he's a babyface. And a beloved one at that. He got like some of the loudest pops of the night besides Moon and Gavin Glass. And a couple other babyfaces. And Bill Collier. Bill Collier's usually a heel. And he's the babyface in the promotion. And it's so cool to see. So after Bill Collier throws down the gauntlet, which again turns out to be a bit, he has a bit of hubris because he's had so many successful championship defenses. He's not thinking, what's the worst that could possibly happen with these free, diabolical, evil wrestlers? Like I said, end of the show here that's a foreshadowing. But anyway, Valor and Rage get into a pose off to start off the match, and Rage is just, he's so good at being the arrogant muscle man. He's like, Look at this here Canadian beef. And he's doing all the muscular poses, and I'm shouting at the guy. I'm heckling the guy and saying, "You're this isn't a pose off. This is a wrestling match."
This isn't Scott Steiner Triple H 2003 now.
And he did a really great job of antagonizing the crowd so that Valor could get a nice little babyface pop. But Valor is already over with this crowd because he's the working class hero who's facing off against the arrogant bodybuilder, and they have a hard-hitting match. Rage did a European uppercut, which was cool. A combination European uppercut with punches and kicks. There were slams. There was a thud. They did a powerbomb spot, and it was like you could literally hear the thud sound as the ring shaked. If you heard a thud in the Jamestown, New York area, then no worries. This was just a wrestling match that was hard. There was a hard-hitting hoss fight. So anyway, Valor hits his finisher on Rage for the victory in a really solid, wonderful match for, between these two individuals that was just so fun to watch. It was so fun to watch because it was that you had the contrast of Vince Valor being the beloved working class hero who looks like a guy who works the factory, looks like he works a factory job. And then you have Robbie Rage, who's just the arrogant bodybuilder who just oozes hate. The kind of hate that you can boo at people. And it was just the wonderful, wonderful match that had the right amount of heat, right amount of moves. And unlike a lot of times when I'm talking about wrestling on Wacky World of Wrestling, you'll note that there's a lot of mixture of a lot of negativity or pessimism. There's not any of that here. This was just, from top to bottom, this was just an enjoyable card, an enjoyable event. And that's the thing. It's fun. And after the fun, we had something a little bit more somber, but for good reasons. Next up is one of the first round matches of the Manny Escobar Memorial Tag Team Tournament. Now, Manny Escobar was a tag team wrestler in a team called the Bone Crushers in the regional area. Now, this was before my time. Manny Escobar passed away in March 2018. And they decided that it would be a good idea to have a Memorial Tag Team Tournament to honor Manny Escobar. And before the event started, there was a 10-bell salute for Manny Escobar before the event started, which was a really classy act by STW there. And 10-bell salute for the show for him. And our first team is several people who are in the Battle Royale. First up is the unofficially named Moon Shark, Vinny Moon, and the Mako, versus a guy who seriously does not look out of place at the Chautauqua Institution, which is that ritzy, high-end, it's a ritzy, high-end place where people go to have vacations in the summertime in my area. Your captain, Nick Ando, and Dewey Murray, the real mother trucker, who unfortunately finds out that Ando has a fear of sharks. Whether it was because his crew got tragically eaten alive by a pack of them, or because he just generally has a phobia of sharks, he fears the Mako, who is an actual shark. Now, the thing with the storyline with Mako is he's never won a match in STW. And come to think of it, I'm not sure if Vinny Moon did win a 6-man tag team match. But in a tag team, for the first round matchup. So, what Dewey does, his genius solution to his partner shark fear is to use his finely tuned trucker physique to try and squash Mako into fish fillets. Which he literally does on several occasions. So Icebox gets Ando gets over his fear of sharks for the time being, because now the Mako is basically fish paste on the canvas. Really solid match with some great comedy spots, some great moments where there was the moments where Dewey tries to help his tag team partner get over his fear of sharks. But it was actually a miscommunication effort where they tried to double team Minnie Moon. And unfortunately, that finely tuned trucker physique turns out to be a very good weapon for Vinny Moon to use as Nick Ando bounces into it and flies out of the ring. Vinny hits his finisher, defeats this team. Mako was wonderful as just being, because his ring entrance is so funny. He runs around the entirety of the ring like a 100-meter sprinter, all over the place, shaking hands with the kids. And there's this theme of Surf City, USA blares off in the background. It's a wonderful, wonderful spectacle of humor and fun.
So it's like the Ultimate Warriors thing. Ultimate Warriors entrance just hopped up
with fish. He made a shark gimmick work.
Take that, Shark Boy.
Actually, I'm referring to as the shark, John Tenta's character. But that's the thing. That's the thing. There's so much character when you go to a local independent wrestling show. These guys have got characters and personalities, but it's also backed up by some really solid, really good ring work. Because they have a facility up in Buffalo now. It's called Grapplers Anonymous, and most of these guys and gals that are doing this show, they came through there. And it's really good to see every single show. There's always that constant improvement. And then we have the two ring veterans next in our next match. So next up was a 1930s adventure film. Literally, it was a 1930s adventurers film. An old-timey grappler faces off against an adventurer who recently returned from a Mayan temple and hopes to every single wrestling god that he doesn't have to pay out the insurance for accidentally destroying the dang thing. So, our next segment, we have Brandon Thurston first facing off against Asylum, who is now known as Stone Rockwell, the Adventurer. Now, Asylum has been in Southern Tier Wrestling before. This was the debut of his new character, Stone Rockwell, who is a 1930s adventurer that you would not find out of place in a silent film adventure movie.
Nice.
So what I did something that was spontaneous. I decided to turn the color settings of my camera to black and white mode.
Awesome.
And every photo, except for a couple, has this black and white look to it, where it looks like an old-timey adventure film. So, first we'll now talk about the patron saints of pro wrestling. While Terrell Kenneth was eliminated from the Battle Royale, he seconds Brandon Thurston to the ring. Now, Brandon Thurston is a very interesting character. He is known for being the co-host or host of WrestleNomics Radio with Chris Harrington, aka Mookie Aganya. And folks, if you would like to hear an economics-related podcast where they talk about the financials of WWE or the independent scene in general, this is the podcast to go to. They just recently did a show where they're talking about the WWE financial conference that was held at WrestleMania this year, where they did a 263-page of notes. Now, that's available for the $5 Patreons. And while I currently can't afford to subscribe to their Patreon, if you would like to, this is a really great podcast, and this is a really great show. They also have a free show available that they also post on their Twitter at WrestleNomics Radio. It's a really cool show, really fun experience, and it really does, it showcases the two different personalities of Brandon Thurston. There's Brandon Thurston, the analysis guy, the financials guy, the post-wrestling related articles, Wrestling INC guy. And then you have Brandon Thurston, the wrestler, and it is a complete and total opposite. Because Brandon Thurston, the wrestler, is a total psycho. He's this old-timey 1920s, 1950s wrestling grappler. You know, the old-school wrestling clubs? You know, where they are the elite of the elite. Elite grapplers that will showcase their technical might. And Brandon Thurston is that to the extreme because he also has the patron saints of pro wrestling, and they're basically the equivalent of a wrestling cult. All we do is tell the truth about being the patrons of saints of professional wrestling. They literally think of themselves as the saints of grappling, the saints of scientific grapples and ye old holds. They subscribe to Farmer Burns' magazine. Farmer Burns, for those of you who don't know, is a classically trained grappler from the old 1900s. So Brandon cuts a fire promo where he does not like the fact that he gets disrespected by this crowd, proceeds to call out the wrong university. I believe it was St. Alcorn University. I could be wrong there, but he says the wrong name of the university, which is kind of a running gag for the wrestlers, is that they sometimes the heel wrestler misspells the name of the arena that they're in or the city that they're in. And Brandon cuts out this fire promo where it's just like, it's heart and soul. It's literally showcased to the entire audience, and they boo the bejesus out of him. And it was wonderful. That pure emotion that was showcased was so nice. It was wonderful to see the crowd, the kids screaming for his blood. And Terrell was the great second there, and was showcased the muscle of the patron saints. So he calls out Asylum, who now calls himself Stone Rockwell, and he proceeds to mock him before he enters the ring. And then the adventure theme hits. Literally, the 1930s adventure theme blares through the mics as Rockwell comes to the ring, dressed in a jacket, hat, and whip. And yes, I know people will make the comparisons of a certain somebody, that would be Indiana Jones, but this character and him, totally different. And not just besides the fact that Steven Spielberg is very protective of his copyright and is basically the equivalent of a velociraptor when he feels it's being infringed. Steven Spielberg and George Lucas, although Lucas doesn't own the Indiana Jones IP anymore, I don't believe, because of the sale to Marvel, the sale to Disney.
Okay.
So he says, "Did somebody say adventure?" As this 1930s adventurer throws down the gauntlet with Brandon Thurston, and he calls Brandon a crybaby. And the entire audience begins screaming crybaby at Thurston as he goes completely nuts, and Terrell starts yelling at the crowd, and you get this microcosm of heat of, you have Rockwell, who is now the beloved babyface because he turned face at the Battle Line show, which was at the Frewsburg Fairgrounds, and has been at some of the shows, as was at the Rise of the Cobra show. And this is the debut of Rockwell to the grand audience, showcasing this classical adventurer facing against that diabolical grappler from ye olden ages. And that was the story of this match. You have two individuals who are looking at things from a classical, old-school philosophy. You have an adventurer, and you have a 1920s, 30s grappler in this wrestling ring, and I felt like I had just walked into a time warp. Then I somehow ended up in a 1930s adventurer film by mistake, in which a brave adventurer faces off against a dastardly wrestler in a clash of titans.
This sounds amazing.
It was amazing. And the Technicolor regime was naturally destroyed by Kenneth, as Technicolor was briefly restored while Rockwell did his promo. And Brandon Thurston figured out the way to try and deal with this this adventurer, was to be as diabolical as humanly possible and attempt to remove his arm. Because Brandon's finisher is an arm breaker. So as this match is going off, it's basically the classical storyline of classic adventurer with the power advantage versus the technical finesse of the diabolical grappler from Buffalo. And he puts his hat on one of the ends of the ring post, Rockwell does, and Please note, no one but him can take the hat off the ring post. If anyone else tried, well, personally, I hope the venue has insurance for giant rolling boulders. There was another power bomb in which this was the second FUD of the night, as after about 5-10 minutes of Brandon attempting to find 50,000 ways to wrench Rockwell's arm out of its socket, Rockwell turns the tide with a power bomb. And it was just like the second FUD of the night as you heard the ring literally shake. So then we reached the finish of this match, where Mike Skyros somehow ends up in this adventure film because he and Terrell had fought each other throughout the entirety of the battle of the Royal Rumble match. And Skyros interferes in the match and helps Adventure win. So Adventure wins in this match against the old-timey Diabolical Grappler. And it was a fun, wonderful match that got the crowd invested in it from the word go, and was a perfect way to close out the first half of the show, which was just a real nice spectacle when you have two in-ring veterans showcasing to the audience just how good of wrestlers that they are. It's really nice to see.
Yeah, that sounded very entertaining.
And it attracted the crowd in droves. Let's see here. Let's see. What was that? That was actually the fifth match. Let's see here. Okay, Moonshark. Yeah, okay, that was match number 4. And let's see here. So after that was... there was one more match before intermission. Next up was Ryan Cassidy, A+, versus Tony Atlas. Yes, Mr.
Tony Atlas?
Yes. Now, Tony Atlas had hurt his back in training and was originally not going to be doing a match, but what they did is they worked an angle where Cassidy goats Atlas into a match. And as Born in the USA plays, and Tony Atlas comes to the ring, and he's cutting a promo, he's like, I was determined to fill this date, was determined and committed to fill this date, even though I had hurt myself. And so what they did is they did a really nice, safe match where Cassidy basically was the diabolical heel that wanted to fight the elderly. And Cassidy just became the most hated, one of the more hated people on this show, where he just went, Ryan Cassidy! And again, I go, dude, you're not a Pokemon. Scream his name and bellow it out, Ryan Cassidy! As he's trying to maul this old man. Fortunately, the bowling does not go as planned, and Tony Atlas fires up, proceeds to beat the bejesus out of him. And then when they try to cheat on the old man, it backfires spectacularly. See, they had brought a clipboard to the ring. His manager, Jonathan Ashe, had brought a clipboard to the ring. They did not realize that the clipboard was French-Canadian. And as they're trying to bonk Atlas in the head with the clipboard, he accidentally strikes Cassidy, who is knocked out by the clipboard, and Tony Atlas is his finisher for the 1-2-3. And then he cut a really nice fire promo afterwards, a promo of unity afterwards that my mother really enjoyed hearing. This old-timer, cutting this promo, being at the show. It was nice to see Tony Atlas. Because they bring a legend onto every one of these shows, and it's nice to see them. These are people who have been in the professional wrestling industry for decades upon decades. Sure, they might not necessarily have the in-ring skills anymore, but they still can pull out surprises with the psychology and how the match can work and make a crowd really like that match. And this match was really nice. It was short, was to the point, the crowd got behind it. They hated Cassidy for trying to beat up the elderly. And Tony Atlas basically showcased the age-old adage of age and treachery will always overcome youth and skill. or youth and enthusiasm, depending on what you want to go with that. Fun, solid match, and it was the match that broke after intermission.
Honestly, I didn't even know that Tony Atlas was still wrestling.
Oh, he occasionally wrestles. Sometimes he's mostly a manager, but he occasionally wrestles. I think he was actually doing shows down at Nova Pro. Which I think is Duke's home promotion. So, anyway, next up came the fun part. Another fun part for me. Intermission. I got to thank some of the wrestlers that competed in the Battle Royale and for their hard work, because it was really their hard work there. And afterwards came to over, because with me, I go over to the merchandise tables. And I don't usually go over to the merchandise tables to chat or anything like that. I go over there to see who has merch available and what looks nice and what I could possibly buy. So what I did is I bought a Vinny Moon shirt. I have it over here right behind me, this Vinny Moon shirt. It's a really nice shirt. I think I'll post a photo of it eventually when I get the time to showcase it. It's a limited print run of like 30 shirts or so to start out with, because he's starting out in the professional wrestling industry. I think he debuted in 2017. Like last year. Had a really nice match. Talked to him and thanked some of the other wrestlers that came in. Thanked Stone Rockwell. Gosh, 2 names. I mean, I'm so used to him wrestling as Asylum that, him wrestling as Stone Rockwell, the adventurer, was so exciting.
Sounds like a soap opera name.
Yeah. Or a guy who is who's starring in an action adventure film.
Oh, yeah.
And so I walked around the arena, relaxed a little bit, because I get mild crowd anxiety from being at events. It's nothing too major, but having a nice big arena to walk around in and relax. And I talked to the co-promoter, the booker, guy who works as a diabolical heel manager, John Kennedy. And his Divine Alliance, which we'll be seeing a little bit later on. But so overall, Matt, what's your thought process of the first half of this show?
It sounds insane. It sounds amazing. I'm actually kind of surprised that the Royal Rumble match was the opening match. I wasn't really expecting that to be the first match. I was expecting it to be like the main event. But that was pretty cool. Really like the adventure match. That sounded like a ton of fun. So overall, it does sound like a really neat little show.
Well, the reason they had it on as the opening match of the card was because of the fact that the person who won that Royal Rumble match would be facing against Bill Collier in the main event of the evening. But it also served as a great way to start the show off with some high-octane excitement.
Yeah, it sounds like it worked out for the best.
So afterwards, our next match was yet another match in the Manny Escobar Memorial Tag Team Tournament. The patron saints of professional wrestling, Mikey Everynight and Steve Gange, faced off against the Covenant, Bennett Cole and James Seringa. Now, the Covenant is normally a team that works in the Erie, Pennsylvania area, but this is the first time that they had teamed together up here in Jamestown. It made an interesting first impression. They wear Jason Voorhees' hockey mask in black with words on the front of them. Care to guess who was the babyface team in this match?
Was it the Jason Voorhees guys?
Yes.
Oh, wow. Nice.
Yeah, there's like words like, he hates me, or, or I'm hated, or something like that. They have on the fronts of their hockey mask. And it's just like this wonderful spectacle. So what they did is they opened things off by, both of them kneel in the middle of the ring and start praying as the patron saints try to beat them up. They do not like their prayer being interrupted. So they then proceed to turn these patron saints of professional wrestling into paste. And Every Night and Gange get just absolutely destroyed in this match by the two monsters. However, seconding them is the guy who recently lost to an adventurer, Brandon Thurston, who was looking for revenge. Now, while Rockwell isn't in this match, he might as well get, revenge on the scary Jason Voorhees mask-wearing wrestlers. So what happens is that the patron saints somehow force out the Covenant out of the ring for the 10 count, get back in, Covenant is counted out, and they move on to the next round of the Manny Escobar Memorial Tag Team Tournament. Solid match. It was 2 matches between 2 usually heel teams, but the Covenant started getting a really nice reaction from the crowd because Seringa had been in Suffer 2 Wrestling before. He teamed with Daniel Garcia, and he's always gotten really solid babyface reactions from the crowd. And so you have that reaction of, okay, he's now teaming with a different guy. Let's cheer him. So they underestimated the leader of the Patron Saints, and obviously they're going to be not particularly happy with the Patron Saints of Pro Wrestling going forward. Again, setting up stories for future shows. As well as showcasing, a current payoff. Patron Saints go off into the next round. They're likely facing Moonshark or some other team for the Manny Escobar Memorial Tag Team Tournament. So after that, we have a singles match. Gavin Glass versus Johnny Puma. So Gavin Glass showcased a lot of fire in the Gold Rush Rumble. This is his first solo match in his debut for Southern Tier Wrestling. He faces off against the Divine Alliance. Johnny Puma is a part of this group, alongside the Caesar and John Kennedy. Who, in this story, they may have lost whatever moral compass that they had left. Because at the last show, Fast Times at Faulkner High, they betrayed Frankie Fevers. Frankie Fevers was the moral compass of this diabolical team of evil heels. And the crowd reacts appropriately to their betrayal of Frankie Fevers by booing them out of the building. And so John gets the microphone into his hand and starts saying, we're not facing against Gavin Glass tonight. We're facing against Frankie Fevers. So they interpret Gavin Glass as what they're going to do to Frankie Fevers, i.e. beat the bejesus out of the guy. And Johnny Puma is just become this diabolical evil mentor to the Divine Alliance. You can see the pieces. You have Caesar, who is sort of a cross between a 1970s rock band and the Joker. He's got the face paint. He's got the music face paint. And I don't know if an insane asylum is currently missing some white clothes. Some white inpatient clothes. But he was either impersonating an insane asylum patient or he was trying to impersonate NSYNC. Can't really tell, but either way, it's a good way to get heat. So Johnny being the veteran and Gavin being the newcomer had a solid sort of semi-squash match, but Gavin got some time in to showcase his fire. He showcased a lot of fire in the Gold Rush Rumble, really made a great first impression with the crowd. And also he's a graphic designer for t-shirts. So he's got 2 careers. He's got a pro wrestling career and a t-shirt designer career at the age of 20. What good forward investment thinking there. However, the Divine Alliance, during their beatdown of Gavin Glass after Johnny Puma wins, are not expecting Frankie Fevers to show up with a restaurant billboard sign and try to cage Caesar's head in. Yes, an actual restaurant. You know those today's menu special boards that you see at restaurants?
Yeah.
He actually used one of those.
Oh, wow.
It's this restaurant board that they got from the concession stand, and he's running around waving the thing around, trying to smack people with the thing as he clears out the ring to save Gavin Glass. Frankie Fevers is a vengeful man possessed who wants to destroy the Divine Alliance after they betrayed him. And it's a really nice story. You see here that he was clearly the moral compass of this evil team, because they were heels, but they were jokey, musical band. They danced all the time, danced badly for that matter, but that's neither here nor there. And it was this feeling of they're heels, but at least they have some form of moral compass.
Right.
The minute that Frankie Fevers got betrayed, it showcased to them that Johnny Puma is starting to corrupt this group. And John Kennedy is corrupting this group, and the Caesar is just along with the ride because this group is his protection. You know, and to showcase the level of vile evilness, and John Kennedy is just such a vile, despicable manager. Every single evil, sleazy thing about, people in this area, he's managed to turn into this diabolical character. He's like somebody straight out of the sleazy 1970s. He's got the suit. He's got the tie. And and he had a jacket with the words "Simply Divine" on the back. Yeah. The black suit, the white pants, the red undershirt. It all fits together in sort of this throwback to the 1970s. And it makes this entire group work as this whole people who are kind of stuck in the past, but also really diabolical, and people you would not want to cross in a dark alley. And that makes Frankie Fevers' turn all that more better, because here you see a group that's truly diabolical, and now you have this guy who's trying to redeem himself by saving a youngster in Gavin Glass from this group. So, solid match with some really great storyline implications that can develop for future shows. Because you now have the diabolical heel stable facing against a vengeful former member, and now a babyface joining that vengeful former member on a crusade against this group. Makes for some really compelling stuff, huh?
Absolutely.
So our next segment is Topher Sinclair requested some mic time. And he proceeds to mock the Jamestown Mattress Company, which makes mattresses in the area. And he, like the person who wanted to face against the Mattress Man last year, Super Beast, wants to face the Mattress Man. Because he hates that the mattresses are non-GMO, He's a diabolical, evil vegan hippie. And he has as his tag team partner, Urza Ellswood, his client, who is also vegan, organic, scarf wearing, glasses wearing, beanie hipster hat. Every single part of evil, diabolical vegans that I absolutely despise, they bring into these two wrestling characters. And Topher's wearing wrestling gear because he's usually a manager. So the Gold Rush tradition of a manager wrestling in a match continues, because John Kennedy wrestled in a match last year at Gold Rush. So what happens is he tries to want to get a fight with the Mattress Man, who's sitting in the audience. However, he gets interrupted by the Homewreckers, the current Southern Tier Wrestling Tag Team Champions, Anthony Gaines and Jet Rebel. And they show up and they start talking, well, we don't have a match for tonight. And we'll put these belts on the line. And if we win, Topher has to eat a mattress. So it's a no DQ tag team Jamestown mattress match.
Wow, man. That must have been awesome.
Yeah, it's a wonderful spectacle. Hang on a second here. Let me see here. I'll pin this to my profile page. You can go look at it. There we go. Our next segment is Topher Sinclair mocking the Jamestown Mattress Company and wanting a match with the Mattress Man. As we've said, as monstrosity as Super Beast will tell you, this is not a wise move after what happened to him last year. Last year, what happened was that Super Beast got pinned by the Mattress, which was being in a match with Merrick and Cassidy, who were once a tag team. Although technically, because I go with DDT Pro Rules, I account that the Mattress pinned Super Beast. So anyway, this match starts, and it is a chaos-filled brawl throughout the entirety of the ring. The heels get the advantage at one point, and Topher Sinclair brings out the mattress. Now, last time, these two diabolical vegans had some kind of diabolical evil plan, and it involved a shark cage in the Mako. Yes, a shark cage. They topped that by bringing in the devastating mattress and proceed to do devastating moves on the mattress. At one point, however, Topher Sinclair gets knocked out on the outside, and Urza Elwood positions it on the corner where he's tagging. In what could possibly be seen as his smartest move ever, he replaces Topher Sinclair with the mattress as his tag team partner. Watching those DDT Pro tapes helped greatly, I see. So, unfortunately, as he's trying to use the mattress to inflict various ways of pain on the homewreckers, it unfortunately backfires. As things involving this team of evil, diabolical hippies do. What happens is that Elwood gets pinned by his own partner, the mattress.
Oh my god.
The homewreckers pin him on top of the mattress for the 1-2-3, and technically the homewreckers are considered the winners here. But once again, because I use DDT Pro rules, I count that the mattress accidentally pinned his own partner.
Yeah, and seeing those pictures on your Twitter, that this is a first. I don't think I've ever seen a mattress in a wrestling ring before.
This is the second time that they've done this. The first Gold Rush event was the debut of the Jamestown mattress match. This is the second time. It was a wonderful spectacle. Some really nice tag team combination moves by both teams. Gaines did a dive on the dive on the outside, where he like flips out of the ring, and it was like his head was backwards, and he flips around and lands on the other side. And so they retained the STW Tag Team Championships in a great comedy match. Wonderful experience. It was a spectacle of joy. As these two teams went at it. You have a wrestling manager, a mattress, his only sane man of a tag team partner, because Ereza Ellswood has become basically the only sane man of his team, because he's like he works off of Sinclair by standing around and just giving these facial expressions of, what have you gotten us into this time? I wanted to showcase the values of vegan smoothies, not, be stuck in a mattress match where you'll likely have to just consume the entire quantities of a non-GMO mattress. But it was a great segue comedy match to showcase, another tag team match, diabolical mattress match. After the seriousness of the match that came before it. So that leads us to our main event of the evening. The challenger, the Dawn, Rob Sweet, accompanied by the sound of his monstrous furnace of hatred of a manager in Super Beast, and his associate, the Landlord, into battle. As the Godfather theme plays in the background. Yes, the Godfather theme.
Nice. Awesome.
Basically, what they're capitalizing here in this situation is that there's a natural animosity between the Italians, the Swedes, and everybody else. So you have this Italian group come in to the main event, and they get booed out of the villa because there's a natural, besides the being a build from Italy, which, let me tell you something about my area. You could build yourself anywhere else but Jamestown, and you would probably get some kind of reaction for being hated. I mean, if you book the Iron Sheik onto a card, and you'd have him booked against a local wrestler, Iron Sheik would be more beloved than that local wrestler if you booked him from anywhere. If you say he was from Buffalo, he'd probably get booed from the area. If you said he was from Rochester, he'd get booed out of the building. If you said he was from Binghamton, you'd be booed out of the building. There are very few occasions when somebody is actually cheered because of the natural paranoia that people have about outsiders in the area. And I'm surprised. I'm like, you're billing him from Corleone, Italy? Why not just bill him from Rochester, Italy? because you get the local hatred of how Rochester's been so successful as an industrial powerhouse, or Buffalo being successful as an industrial powerhouse and economic powerhouses, even though right now they're currently going through a massive recession because of the Rust Belt. And this area is actually doing okay. So their mission is to stop the Southern Tier Wrestling Heavyweight Champion of the World, big time Bill Collier, who has been the champion since winning the belt in a freeway match with Kevin Bennett and Brandon Thurston at the first Gold Rush show. Now, Bill Collier has faced against a variety of opponents in his particular championship struggle. He faced Asylum, who now decided to become an adventurer. He faced against Rico Cruz in Rico Cruz's retirement match. Because the way that they built the angle is that Rico announces to the public, which literally was a gut punch to the entire audience, that if he couldn't win the championship, then he was done as a professional wrestler. He then gets turned to the pace by Bill Collier, and Bill Collier wins the match in a really sympathetic and emotional match. Then he faces against the diabolical technical wrestler Brandon Thurston. But you could see that the story was building where Collier was starting to get worn down by all of the challenges, by all of the events. He was so overconfident. His hubris was at its absolute highest. What could these three chumps do against me? Answer? Quite a lot. Because those three diabolical heels worked as a team throughout the entirety of this match. Instead of getting Landlord and Super Beast banned from Wingside, where you could potentially crush Rob Sweet at your leisure, you instead have them at ringside, and they caused all manner of havoc. The opening part of the match is Bill staring down his opponent, and I'm going to pin this once again to the top page of my profile so that you can see it. There we go. And so you have a champion who's ginormous, who has nothing to fear from these three, and you have Super Beast, who has this lifelong mission. He was humiliated in the mattress match last year by losing to it. He has his client, the Don Rob Sweet, who he picked up at the show beforehand, as his client of doom. And it's this year-long revenge tale of getting revenge on the STW fan base for Super Beast. He is so hated by this crowd. He has become a furnace of hatred. And that furnace of hatred gave Rob Sweet some help. Collier brawls on the outside of the ring with Rob Sweet, and then proceeds to start fighting Landlord and Super Beast outside the ring. However, while the referee is distracted tending to Rob Sweet, he then gets ring apron powerbomb by Super Beast. Then Landlord interferes in the match because he wants his rent money. He underestimated him. He had never faced against Landlord before because Landlord debuted at Fast Times at Faulkner High. So, naturally, you have a situation where a man who is not prepared for Landlord, who already knows about Super Beast, and you have a situation where the numbers game comes in, but the numbers game in this case was a positive in this match, because then it showcases just how diabolical Rob Sweet can be. Rob Sweet is irritating to this audience. The children were literally screaming for his blood. And it was a situation where Rob Sweet is getting screamed at by children. The children are in the front row of the audience. As every near fall hits, there's a sense of, oh God, did he almost pin him? Did he almost pin our champion, our working class hero? They got everybody emotionally invested into this match. This main event was truly a main event. A year's worth of storytelling, a year's worth of work goes into this story. And you want to know something that's great?
Sure.
Sometimes the hero does not win in the end.
Oh.
After the referee gets knocked out by Collier and Sweet, Super Beast gets into the ring, and so does Landlord. They interfere again. And after the referee wakes up and Rob Sweet hits his finisher on Bill Collier, And with a revive spell in his inventory, Super Beast wakes up the ref, who counts to 3. And ladies and gentlemen of this audience, we have a new Southern Tier Wrestling Heavyweight Champion, The Dawn, Rob Sweet. Cue Godfather theme. So what happens in this situation afterwards is that there is literally a near riot that occurs after this match.
For real.
Yes!
Oh,
Children,
man.
angry children start storming the ring.
Oh.
And Super Beast and Rob go, and their eyes go bug-eyed, and they go, "Oh my God, the children are storming the ring!" And as the ring announcer is announcing the finish of the match, he sees all these children coming up to the ring. And so what happens is that the ring announcer and Super Beast are basically a human shield for Rob. As Rob Sweet literally turns into a 100-meter Olympic sprinter and runs out of the ring before he's dismembered by a horde of angry children and their angry parents who have marked out for the moment. Not only did this match get nuclear heat from children, their parents who are like in the "It's Still Real to Me" camp also got caught up by it. The guy who was the side guy just went, "No, this can't possibly happen. No." And as he walks down the bleachers, he's like so dejected, he's screaming. It's a magic moment. It's a magic moment. So the ring announcer almost gets mauled. Super Beast almost gets mauled by children.
Oh, man.
The referee almost gets mauled because of the count he made. Bill Collier's sitting is like in the middle of the ring, still settling, and he's like, "Oh, that happened." And he's got like this smirk on his face, like, "Oh my goodness." They did not, like, everybody was, and it was so funny, everybody was kind of skeptical about this main event. They did not think that this was going to work. But if you get the right kind of crowd in front of this match, an interference-heavy match is not necessarily a bad thing, especially when you're trying to transition the belt away from your dominant babyface champion that has held the belt for the entire year so that you can continue moving forward with ideas. Bill Collier's run as Southern Tier Wrestling Heavyweight Champion is one of my favorite runs of watching a championship belt. And you know me, that I'm not necessarily a person who particularly cares about heavyweight championship runs. On the independent scene, having somebody who establishes your belt is much more important than, say, WWE, because that is your champion. That is the person that brings work rate, high caliber matches to your main event. And every single time, Bill Collier knocked it out of the park. From working an incredibly safe match with Rico Cruz, because it's his last match. You don't want to enter a guy in his last match. And, you know, in his last match, you know, when his kids are there at the arena. And having a high caliber match where he literally did a dive out of the ring against Brandon Thurston. And Terrell Kenneth felt 280 pounds of muscle hit him like a missile. To having matches with Stone Rockwell in 85-degree heat in a swamp in Frewsburg, New York. Every single match that Bill Collier did as a champion of the Southern Tier Wrestling Heavyweight Championship was a spectacle that was so enjoyable. And this match was no exception. He brought the power, he brought the strength, he brought the character. He wore landlord sunglasses during this match to showcase, but it also showcased the hubris. The hubris of big-time Bill Collier getting so overconfident against this group of diabolical heels that have been running roughshod over Southern Tier Wrestling. It made the story work. It made it work to the audience. The kids are literally baying for Rob Sweet's blood. Afterwards, you now have a heel who had solid matches throughout his tenure in Southern Tier Wrestling. This was his breakout match. This was a great match. Wonderful heel work integrated with a powerhouse babyface who's beloved by the audience as their working class hero, the main event worked. And it's going to bring people back. If this was your first wrestling show, if this was your first independent wrestling show, if this was your kid's first independent wrestling show, then what a great impression to leave them with as they exit the building of a show from top to bottom that was excellently produced, excellently made, with nice little finishing touches to mix the old school with the modern. Because that's the thing with indie wrestling. You got to bring more of the modern in for a modern audience. It's not just that you can be old school, you can also bring in modern. So you have modern technology, and in fact, I think Rob Sweet just posted the Rumble video, so you can actually watch it for yourself. Be sure be sure to follow Rob Just Too Sweet on YouTube. He posts a large amount of his matches that he does in the regional area. He's primarily a Rochester wrestler, and he's your new 7-tier wrestling heavyweight champion. And Biff Kensington absolutely loves that belt. He's an old school belt mark, so he's like, he sees the ginormous championship belt and it's like, oh my god, it's so cool looking.
Yeah, I could see him going crazy for that belt.
Yeah. So overall, Gold Rush 2, first time I've been able to cover a Gold Rush card, because the last time that I saw Gold Rush, it was before I revived Wacky World of Wrestling. And actually, I think we're on the year anniversary of the revival of Fizzy's Wacky World of Wrestling, because we started in April of last year, the revival edition, after doing about 7 episodes solo back in 2013 to about 14. This was a special show that was a wonderful spectacle for the audience. And after the show was over, I walked down once again to the merchandise table as people were packing up. And what I did is I bought a Big Time Bill Collier shirt. It's a Big Time Fight Gear, and it's a really cool design. I have a bit of a rule about t-shirts. I don't normally buy white t-shirts. I don't buy because of the hard water in the area. But I made an exception in this case because it's a really nice design. And so I have it once again in back here. It was nice to have them not have to deal with one less shirt, and take some money, have a nice meal, celebrate, the successful run that Bill Collier had as champion. Now, what's the future say? Well, we got a rematch, obviously. We'll see where that goes. And Tier Wrestling is going to be having a show, I believe, in June, as well as the fact that they're going to be doing the annual Chautauqua County Fair show event. I'm not sure when the fair is going to be, either July or August. That's going to be a spectacle. I believe that the fairground shows, it's free admission because you're with a ticket to the fair. But they're also going to be having a show in June, and they're yet to announce the date. Southern Tier Wrestling is on Facebook right now. They do not have a Twitter page at this point, so you can follow them at Southern Tier Wrestling on Facebook. They usually provide match announcements in advance, as well as ticket locations to buy the tickets at. So, Matt, what are your thoughts about the second half of the show?
Well, I think that main event sounded pretty crazy, or with the riot and all that. But yeah, it's going to be interesting to see Rob Sweet as the new champion of that promotion.
So overall, what are your thoughts about this show?
Overall, it sounded like a really fun show. I thought the Royal Rumble sounded pretty cool. The Adventure match was pretty cool. Tony Atlas wrestling in 2018 seemed like surreal. That main event sounded really good, crazy but good. So overall, I think it sounded like a really fun show. It sounded like a really cool experience.
Yeah, and that's exactly what it was. It was a really cool experience because, like I said, I go to these professional wrestling shows to relax. It's not like, it's insane mark out. It's more, I boo the heels, cheer the faces, and just have a fun time at these shows. And the wrestlers just got such a kick out of the photos I posted of the event. And this is a little bit of a different show than what I normally do for Wacky World of Wrestling. Usually I'm very pessimistic or, somewhat negative, but when it comes to local wrestling, this area has had a drought of professional wrestling for 25 years. To see it come back with a regional promotion, to have a large amount of young talent come into this area, wanting to be professional wrestlers and putting in the hard work that they're doing. There's hard work, there's effort, there's so much good stuff, and that's the thing. Professional wrestling is more known for the bad than it is for the good sometimes. And in this case, there's a lot of good going on right now. Whether it continues or not, we'll have to see where it goes. Because again, in anything in Jamestown, it's always unpredictable. But Southern Tier Wrestling's got a show planned in June, and there's a Chautauqua County Fair coming up in July, August. So next 2 dates are going to be interesting to see what they do there. So since I talked about my show, what has been the week in professional wrestling for you, Matt?
Well, I watch Raw, SmackDown, and NXT, as well as most of the Greatest Royal Rumble. I'm primarily a WWE watcher, mainly. It's not that I don't like other promotions, it's just that WWE is the most accessible to me. I'm not really a fan of TNA. I've tried to give them a chance. I did. It's just I can't do it. And Ring of Honor does come on, in my area, but it comes on at like 3 a.m. on a Saturday night, So it's kind of tough to kind of remember what time it comes on. But I do try and keep up with like Ring of Honor and New Japan and all of that. But I am primarily a WWE guy.
Oh. And Matt has dropped out of the call. Hang on a sec. Oh my goodness. Okay. Oh, he's back. He's back. You're back, Matt?
Yeah. What happened?
I don't know. You dropped out of the call just randomly there for a second.
Yeah, it just said like error, and like what's going on? Yeah, sorry about that.
That's okay. These things happen. So overall, you thought that like I said, like I didn't really watch. I was on Shooting the Breeze earlier today. Taker Noonan is becoming more of a fan of the Miz. Oh, let's help us all. Oh, the wrestling gods, help us all. If Taker becomes a fan of the Miz, oh my goodness, that's horrifying.
Yeah, it really is.
So Raw and SmackDown are kind of balancing themselves out. They've had a bit of a reset recently with their divisions, and NXT is moving on with their next storylines for their next takeover. And then you had the Greatest Royal Rumble, which was basically a reset show for the WrestleMania, which is why I kind of had a bit of an issue with doing Speaks this year, because there was like a reset show coming up. So anything we talk about, it would be reset by the Superstar Shakeup, by this Greatest Royal Rumble, by the everything that happens. WWE kind of seems to be in sort of a topsy-turvy time. So I think what we're going to do here is we're going to talk about the various brands overall, not the wrestlers specifically, but the brands. Let's start with Raw. What do you think of Raw so far, Matt?
I think Raw is, I don't know, Raw it's sort of something where it really doesn't have much of a direction at the moment, and it's mainly because of the Greatest Royal Rumble and the Superstar Shakeup. It just doesn't feel like a lot of people just do not have a storyline, save for Roman and Brock. Now it does feel like they're starting to kind of give Ronda a storyline with like Mickey James, and there are some backlash matches, but I don't know. It just doesn't. It doesn't feel like there's much hype to it. And Backlash is next Sunday, so next Monday on Raw and on SmackDown, they're going to have to work even harder. They're going to have to put in some extra work to really get people excited for Backlash.
Okay, that sounds cool. What about SmackDown?
SmackDown, I think it's done. It's doing a better job with the direction than Raw is. I'd be lying if I said I loved the direction that SmackDown is going, because I didn't think this week's SmackDown was really that great, but at least it has more of it's a clearer direction than Raw does.
Yeah, I mean, For me personally, Raw and SmackDown are still equal. Yes, I know there's going to be some people that are saying, SmackDown won the war once again! Do you not remember the last time that SmackDown allegedly won the war against Monday Night Raw? Where there was 6 months of good TV, and then suddenly a dry desert of absolute nothing? Yeah, I'm not going to be putting all my eggs into the SmackDown basket just quite yet. I think both brands worked out better in the end for both sides because Raw got some people from SmackDown who will work better on Raw, and SmackDown got some people that had been on Raw who didn't really work out very well, who are now on SmackDown. We'll see where it goes from there. What are your thoughts on NXT right now?
I think NXT is going pretty well right now. The thing with the women's division is it does seem to be kind of in a holding pattern because their top face just went to Raw, and two heels just went to SmackDown. So it's kind of a mess right now, a little bit. Like it really is. Like it does seem like they're starting to build towards Dakota Kai and Shayna Baszler for the next takeover, which I think is Takeover Chicago. And so that's the feud that's going on right now. It's pretty much in a rebuilding pattern. Is the best way to put it. It's in a rebuilding pattern, really.
I think my biggest concern actually isn't with the women's division, which I feel as though is actually doing pretty solid right now. My concern mainly is with the men's division because I feel as though that Aleister Black is your best bet as champion right now. Almost is going to SmackDown. The biggest concern you have at this point is the Gargano Ciampa feud.
Right.
Okay, you blew off that feud at TakeOver New Orleans, and I can see the Triple H isms of this feud, and I've seen them for ages. You're trying to make a guy who, as I've described, I've actually did a fan post on Johnny Gargano being NXT's actually greatest villain. Not a hero, a villain. Because of the way that he unleashes horrible monsters onto the NXT brand, as well as him not realizing that his partner is going completely psycho. And while they're trying to position Ciampa as the heel, I still think that Ciampa is sympathetic in this instance because, again, he's a wounded animal. A wounded animal who reacted like a wounded animal does, by striking against the thing that it cares for. And he does care for Gargano. It's just, unfortunately, Gargano did not acknowledge him for months on end. He's like, and I'll deal with that Ciampa partner later. Like, dude, Julie, deal with it now. It's been 10 months. 10 months since Ciampa allegedly betrayed you. And then you have him and LeRae. And LeRae is just a total monster. A total, and babyface monster, I should say, in this instance. Where she's basically like a velociraptor. And I feel like the North American Championship was made as the please, let's not face against Candice LeRae Championship. It's like Candice LeRae, to me, technically, is the second best challenger for the NXT Championship right now. Because Killian Dane went off the SmackDown. And you have Ricochet, who's now in NXT. You have Ethan Carter III, EC3. So it's a kind of a jumbled mess right now because, the biggest problem NXT still has is that they don't really have a developed mid-card for their men's division. Their tag division is okay. And the division I feel it is actually in the best spot right now is actually the women's division.
Yeah, I can see where you're coming from because the world title it's kind of in a weird place right now. I could possibly see them doing a triple threat with Aleister Black, Gargano, and Ciampa at TakeOver Chicago. Maybe, I don't know. I do sort of have to question why they're continuing the Gargano Ciampa feud. It's not that it's bad. I think the angle that they did on Wednesday was phenomenal, but I don't know. It just feels like it isn't really necessary to really continue this feud.
You should have let me kill them when you had the chance, Johnny. Because here's the thing, Candice was celebrating with Gargano at the TakeOver show. I was like, Candice is looking over at Ciampa and Seriously, is Candace gonna kill him? Because Johnny isn't going to. He's still like, no, he's my buddy, he's my pal. He betrayed you. Or you betrayed him, or you didn't even see his needs. Like, whereas Candace is like I said, she's a babyface monster. Anything that has sparkles is something that I immediately consider as terrifying. You know,
Yeah.
if somebody is showcasing themselves as like the sparkly hyper babyface, it usually means they have nothing to fear and that they're completely terrifying monsters behind it all. So NXT is going for a rebuild phase. Raw's going for a rebuild phase. SmackDown is going for a rebuild phase. The Greatest Royal Rumble had Braun Strowman winning, which I'm certain Kane was probably not pleased with. I mean, look, you have to go through 50 individuals, and it ends up Braun winning the dang thing.
Yeah.
And then, of course, you have folks. For those of you who need energy efficient solutions for your heating and air conditioning woes, why not subscribe to the theory of powering your system with the absolute atomic hatred that is the Roman Reigns fandom right now after that Brock Lesnar match, where Brock retained again. At this
Yeah.
point, I feel as though the Triple H is trolling the entire WWE universe, more specifically the Roman Reigns fandom, with the whole, oh, that's one of Vince's last picks, and he's not gonna win.
Yeah, that's what it seems like, because the thing with Roman is that his character is dead. It is just dead. Like, maybe they can do a heel turn, but that would be like their last desperate plea. I don't know. It's just like Roman should have won at WrestleMania. Like, just, I don't know. It's just like, it's like a band-aid. Just rip it off. Just be done with it. And just having him lose not once but twice, I don't know. It really hurt him, I think.
It's like he's gotten cursed by Papa Shango or some voodoo priestess in New Orleans, and he cannot shake this curse away. Because, like, he loses at WrestleMania to Brock Lesnar. He then loses at the Greatest Royal Rumble to Brock Lesnar again in a controversial match. And we have this Backlash match coming up where Roman's facing against Samoa Joe. And Samoa Joe is in the situation where he's cutting fire promo after fire promo, showcasing that, Roman Reigns is a nobody to Samoa Joe. Despite the fact that Joe kind of has sort of a losing record. But again, who's going to argue with this scary mortgage broker? So, yeah, WWE this week had a lot of rebuilds, and with all honesty, that was good. But today's main focus of the show, an indie wrestling show that did a Rumble, and it was a really fun Rumble. And indie wrestling, to me, it's a great way to get a break from mainstream wrestling, from all the chaos, from all the Donner Partyisms of professional wrestling. And that doesn't to say that indie wrestling isn't immune to that kind of stuff, because it does frequently showcase itself as being just as bad of a Donner Party as mainstream wrestling is. But it's a nice break, because this week I would have had to talk about the Greatest Royal Rumble and how aggravated I would be at certain decisions that were made. But instead, I got to cover a really fun local independent wrestling show with a guy and introduce a guy who mainly is a WWE watcher to indie wrestling. And that is a really cool experience. I'm glad you got to go on the ride with me on this one, Matt.
Yeah, I mean, it sounded really fun. It sounded like a really cool show, and it just goes to show, if you do have a local indie federation or promotion or whatever, support them in any way you can.
Yeah, just make sure to do the proper checks beforehand. Do proper background checks. Make sure to check that this promotion hasn't gotten into any Donner Party antics, or there are any allegations or issues, or because there have been several that have come up in recent years in the independent scene but do your due diligence. Make sure that the wrestlers are properly trained. Make sure that, the events are safe for you and your families to attend. Like this one. This was a safe event for people to attend. Like the security was watching everybody like a hawk the entire show. And it was a fun, safe show to bring your children and your family to a wrestling show to have a really fun time. And that's one of the things to bring back into pro wrestling. You have to bring back the family crowd. It's not just enough to bring the smarks in. You also have to bring in the children and families because they like going to the shows. They love supporting the wrestlers, and it's a good time for everybody involved. A nice, clean environment because it was a community college, so there's no there's no drinks, there's no beer, so you didn't have to worry about that. And so, yeah, I guess. Do you have anything else to bring up on this week on Wacky World of Wrestling, Matt?
No, I think that just about covers it. As I just wanted to do one last quick thing on the Great Story Rumble. If you plan on watching it, just watch the Intercontinental title match, really, because basically the show was basically just a glorified house show. That's basically what it was. The Rumble itself, it had its moments, but it was what it was. So yeah.
Well, I mean, it's Triple H's master plan to dump Vince out in the middle of the desert so that he can take over the wrestling world. Did you see that presentation that Triple H did where he had all the maps of the various different international territories?
I didn't really see like the actual presentation itself, but I did see a couple of pictures from it.
Yeah, the battlefield map.
Yeah.
Today, the Indies. Tomorrow, the world. And I did have Triple H impression on Shooting the Breeze, and I'm going to do one here. But, folks, this has been episode 41 of Fizzy's Wacky World of Wrestling. A bit of a different show than usual this week. It was just fun. The Rumble at the Gold Rush Mine, episode 41. Gonna have to change the title because it's labeled as episode 42 right now, but it actually isn't. It's 41. This has been William Fizzpatrick. You can follow me on Twitter at Fizzpatrick14. I'll be posting the show results and linking to the wrestlers after the show is over. And this is my guest co-host for this week, Metal Matt. Where can I find you?
Well, I hang out on cage side seats. I hang out in the daily and the nightly. And I also hang out in the NXT live threads as well as the SmackDown live threads. So you can find me pretty much all over the place on cage side seats. You can also follow me on Twitter at MetalMatt15. I also have a podcast where I take a look at pretty much everything and anything Ruthless Aggression era related. It's called the Ruthless Aggression Era podcast. You can find it on YouTube. Last night I just did an episode with One Winged Angel on No Mercy 2002. It went pretty well. I mean, who knew that a podcast about Al Wilson and Katie Vick could be so fun?
Oh, you never know. Like it was this show. We talked about independent wrestling, where there was involved a mattress match was involved.
Yeah. And next Friday, it's gonna be a brand new episode. I don't know who my guests will be next week, but I will be covering both WWE SmackDown Shut Your Mouth as well as WWE Anthology. So it's going to be a really fun episode. I'm very much looking forward to it. Like I said, I don't know who the guests are going to be next week, but I'll figure it out. But that episode I'm very much looking forward to.
Yep, he covers the Ruthless Aggression era, whereas I cover just the general eras of professional wrestling and whatnot. And the Connoisseurs of Wrestling podcast with Biff Kensington and Taker's Minion recently debuted this past week, by the way. You can give them a follow as well. They covered the Jumping Bomb Angels this week, and next Monday, I believe, they're going to be covering Bruno Sammartino, who tragically passed away last week. Thoughts and condolences to the family there. And, well, this has been episode 41 of Fizzy's Wacky World of Wrestling, folks. I hope you had a good day or night. We'll see you on the next edition of the show, provided I'm not mauled to death by the local wrestlers. There's always that risk. But anyway, we'll see you for the next edition of the show. I'm likely going to be talking about Backlash either this week or the week after. Depends on whatever else. And as always, there's I'm also planning on a Cage Side Speaks for Backlash. So stay tuned for that. And we'll see you next time on the next edition of Wacky World of Wrestling, where wrestling is covered all around the world. And Fezzy's Wacky World of Wrestling means the cover for that. So, have a good day or night, folks. We'll see you next time. Bye!
See ya.